All right, so these last two techniques are my absolute favorite. So the first of the last two is this one here, which is a galaxy background. Super fun. So I've got the colors that I'm using here. You can actually buy a set of Tombows that is called Galaxy, that has all perfect colors to do a galaxy painting or background with. I'm trying to color these in the same spot that I colored them for here, but it doesn't have to be exact. Same as the other backgrounds that we've used water with. There's a certain amount of control you have, and the rest is the paper doing what it's going to do. So I typically will do the brighter colors in the center, and then the darker colors around the outside. My black one here is fairly dry. So just an FYI, the markers do not last forever. They last quite a long time, but they do eventually run out of ink. There is a limited amount of ink in them, so they will eventually dry out. But what I'm going to do after I have added the water, let it dry, I'm going to use an ink pad. Where did it go? Ink pad and a jumbo dauber to darken the outside, because I think part of the fun about the galaxy background is that dark outside part, so it kind of looks like you're looking at part of the galaxy. So make sure everything's out of the way, and we are going to add water. Once again, you want to make sure you add a sufficient amount of water so that the ink can start to flow and move, and then I'm going to use my heat tool to dry it. I'm going to pause the video and I will be back when it is all dry, and then we'll continue. All right, so we are completely dry, and you'll notice my colors are a little bit lighter than my sample. If I wanted, I could go in and add some more. This one just happened to be a little bit more faded than my original one, but I'm going to leave it as is for right now. First thing I'm going to do is take my black ink pad and my jumbo dauber, and I'm using this on, actually I'm going to use it on my glass. Here I can see that my back of my cardstock has a little bit of moisture on it. So I start on my glass and work my way in, just darkening the edges around my cardstock here. You could do this also with an oxide pad. The thing with an oxide pad though is because it's a little bit more opaque, I want to be able to control how much of this goes dark and how much of it you see through. So I feel like I have a little bit more control by just using my regular black pad here. I could also use the Memento pad for this simply because it is a dye-based pad. It would work the same way for what we are doing. If I want, I can add some darker areas on the inside here, make it a little bit more mysterious. And you just keep going till you have it as dark as you want it. Where's my lid? There we go. I'm going to leave it like that for right now. And I'm going to dry anything underneath there that's wet. And then I have some Posca pens, which are paint pens. I have them in 2 different sizes. And all I'm doing with them is adding stars. Now the one thing to keep in mind when you're adding stars to something, don't do them in even spacing. Make sure that there's some that are clustered close together, some that are farther apart. If you go look at the night sky, you're not going to see an even pattern with the stars. So you don't want to do that with this here. If by chance you like it, you can do the little clusters like this, which are kind of like little, here, I'll do it on the back of this here. They're just little, this is a big version of it, obviously, but that's all it is. I did them and I ended up not liking them, so I'm not going to do that on this piece here. But you go add as much or as few stars as you like, and then we're going to stamp and emboss the Imagine on the front of this here. So I'm going to take a scrap piece of paper, and you have to make sure that everything is totally dry, otherwise it is going to, the embossing powder is going to stick. Hopefully my black is dry enough. It might not be. We're going to find out in a second. Yeah, it wasn't quite dry enough because you can see the flecks of ink that are, or flecks of embossing powder that are sticking to the background there. In order to fix that, all I'm doing is taking a soft brush and I'm just brushing that powder off. For this particular project, I don't mind having a few there because it kind of looks like the stars, but that was far too many in that little area. So once I've got all the excess powder off, I'm going to emboss it. There we go. And then it's as simple as gluing this to the mat and then gluing this to the front of the card. Obviously I did the layout a little bit different here. All of my samples are done in this layout. Nothing to say that you can't do it horizontally as well. Sometimes personally I liked the way it streaked across here, so that's why I wanted to do it this way for this particular one. Some cards lend themselves well to vertical cards and some lend themselves to horizontal cards. But isn't that pretty? And I know there are some star stamps or galaxy stamps, or there's some stencils and stuff like that that you can find if you wanted to use them for that as well. I just don't happen to have any, so using the markers to create the stars works just as well. And you can go and look up certain constellations if you want and include them in there. That would be that would be super fun. But I just thought that was the cutest little technique. I love it. We'll see in the next one. The last one, I have to say, it's my favorite.